Hey, so what's this podcast about today? Well, it's all about if you make this a habit, it'll be the most important and most positive habit, well, you could ever make, I think. And the thing is it easy? Maybe not easy. Is it difficult? No, it's not difficult. What does it take? Well, it takes a little bit of gumption. And I know you've got bucket loads of gumption if you really just go for it. Okay? Have a listen. I think you'll find that you'll want to get that gumption to carry it out.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Cloughie. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hi, how you doing? As I said in the introduction, if you make this a habit, it could be one of the most important things and the most important habits that you ever do. And this was inspired by a client of mine just recently. And you see, the question is, why wouldn't you choose this? And the thing is, we've talked previously about it a long time ago, but I see it so much in my clients, my friends, and more importantly, I see it in myself. And it's not a good thing. It is a good thing, but it's not a good thing. It's a good thing when you recognize it. It's not a good thing if you don't. So, you see, everything that you do, everything that I do, everything that we all do, from the very first moment that we take our very first breath, even maybe before that, is to choose what we're going to do. Just choose. We choose moment by moment the next thing to do, the next thing to do. Everything is a choice. Whatever strategy we're using, we choose that strategy. We choose to continue that strategy. All the points, all the different steps along the way, we still choose. Not necessarily consciously though, and that's the thing. It's unconscious choice. But nevertheless, both you and I make those choices. By the way, it's Paul here. Didn't introduce myself again. So glad you're here. And you chose to be here with me. And it was a choice, conscious or otherwise. But because we're choosing everything that we do, consciously, unconsciously, maybe both when we're aligned, it's that choice that we make is why people say that we are creating our life. We're creating, in some ways, our reality. We have created everything that we end up with, the results. We are the cause of every effect. And yet we can collide with other people's choices. But yet we still choose how we react, even if we don't think about it. Again, it's unconscious. We do things. And here's the thing. In order to make, I want to say in inverted commas, the right choice, we need, at the conscious and unconscious level, a direction that we're heading. We need to know that aim, the aim that we have in mind, that goal, that dream, that wish, the feeling that we want. Because if we don't have that, we get to make random choices. You know, have you experienced what I've experienced? We choose something to do and you're not quite sure why you chose it, and it just didn't work. And I think, wow. But the thing is, we don't tend to maybe review that, analyze it maybe a little bit, learn from it, because we just didn't get what we wanted. But at the time, did we really know what we want? I want to suggest that we didn't. Not well enough anyway. And you do know, don't you? You know that this podcast, me, is all about encouraging you to not only have dreams, but to get those dreams, take action upon those dreams. You know, we can call them dreams, we can call them wishes. I like wishes to turn into dreams, which turn into outcomes in mind, because I don't want them to just float away. And I also want you to sometimes understand why we don't necessarily take those steps or achieve those dreams, those goals as quick as we want. And this is I'm going to explain part of that here. And that sometimes can take away the fear, because when you have learnings, you can't really have that emotion of fear. So that's what I'm going to go through today a little bit about what we can do Because when you got that, when you have that, it doesn't matter what anybody else says. You can just do it. And there's a reason sometimes where we don't even do that. But when we do it, that's what we're here for, to support you in all of that, give you all the help that you need. And then you can confirm everything about that, how it's going to make you feel, and then feel it. And when you know it, you're confirming it again. But as I said, and it is a but or an and, you need to have an idea first. You need to have an idea. You need to have a goal in mind. You need all of this, and you need to keep coming back to it, or understand sometimes why we don't come back to it. You see, having said that, all of that, why wouldn't you? Because this was the very first question I said, inspired, as I said, from a client, but really rocked home to me a little bit when she said it. Why wouldn't you choose this? And I know what you're thinking now, because being that bit of a mind reader, you're going to say, what the bloody hell is this, Paul? You keep on about, why wouldn't you choose this? And you haven't said a word. And I've been trying to be vague about it, because I wanted to, first of all, set that little foundation of understanding of everything is choice, but also to get your interest. Because when you're curious, I just know this is going to slip in that much more easier. So what is this? I'll tell you. This is being your best. Being your best. That's all it is. And I know you're going to say, oh, I do, Paul, I am. But I'm really saying the best you, the best version of you. Because that was what my client said. She wanted to be the best version of herself every time. Not just any time. Not just sometimes. But every time. And can you honestly put your hand on your heart? There's my hand, hitting my heart. Say, yes, Paul, I do that. Because if you do, awesome. And what I'd love you to do, if you do that, send me some feedback at that old email, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com, and tell me how you do it. Because there'll be another process that you're doing, a strategy that you're doing. But I do suspect, I'm probably right in saying, we don't do it all the time. I know I don't. And that really pees me off when I look back and go, you undersold yourself, Paul. You were not singing from your true voice. You weren't showing up. All these I love those expressions. Showing up, being the best version of you, and letting everyone see it. Not just letting yourself see it, on the inside, because that's okay. But when you're really acting it, being it, living it, that's when we show everybody who we really are. But you got to ask yourself, why the hell don't we do it then? If it makes you feel so blooming good, Paul, and this is what I ask myself, okay, Cloughie, if it makes you feel that blooming good, why don't we do it? And I had to sit down and think about that. So I made a few notes in my lovely Jenny journal. And the notes were, well, one thing is, it's easier not to, isn't it? Because if you have to put effort into things, if you have to, show up and be out there. Because when you do that, well, we'll go to that in a minute. But it is so much easier. That's why people call it sometimes self-sabotage, which I think is a load of old BS. There's always a reason. We don't sabotage ourselves. We have reasons. We choose not to. Because that's not sabotaging. We're choosing not to do something. Why? Because it's easier not to. We don't have to put that effort into it. We don't have to put that energy into it. But I think more importantly, it's easier not to because we don't or can't fail. Yeah. So we don't put our best version of ourselves out there to be seen. Because if we did and we failed, what would that be like? Oh, the hurt. It would be catastrophic, wouldn't it? If we did something and we just didn't do it. Well, the thing is about failure, that we all know there is no such thing as failure. Maybe the only thing is failure is not blooming doing it. But even that's not failure if you learn from it. And that's the whole point. The results you get are what you get. Full stop. They're just results. Maybe they're not exactly the results that you wanted, but that's not a failure. It just means you didn't get it. The failure is, I guess, not to learn from it and do the same thing again and expect a different result. There's a definition of stupidity, isn't it? Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. But you see, if we don't do these things, and I'm thinking of everything, every moment of the time being our best version of ourselves, we're supposedly safe. But the thing is, there is a conflict in each one of those. And we're going to look at one. Let's go back to that first one. It's easier not to. Well, it is easier, but sometimes it takes more effort not to do that thing, to make those bloody excuses why we're not doing it, and keep dodging and making it up and making it up. It takes more effort to do that, and it's more negative effort, and that's draining. We don't do it because we might fail, but we know, having not done it, we get that feeling of failure. There's another conflict, a direct conflict. One thing is, it's easier, but it's not easier. Direct conflict. We can't fail if we don't do it. Feels like failure. Direct conflict. And then we go, well, we're safe because we're not vulnerable. You know, if we put ourselves out there. Paul, Cloughie, I said to talk to myself now, if I have to really put myself out there, I am being totally vulnerable in a place where maybe I don't know if I've got the resources to handle that situation. Well, the real thing is, yes, you have, Paul. You've got skills. And this is to you as well. You specifically have all the skills you need, and your unconscious mind will choose to use them as soon as they know the direction you want to go in. And that's what we're going to go to. But the thing is, there's another reason why we don't do it. Secondary gain, it's called. NLP terms, I'm sure it's called the same or similar things in different modalities, but secondary gain. What's secondary gain? That's when you get more benefit from not doing something. Sometimes it's like, I'm sure you've seen it, that somebody is reasonably capable of doing stuff, but they don't do it because someone else will help them, will do it for them. They'll be around them more. We have these people who are wonderful carers, but sometimes they care too much because the person they're caring for doesn't do the things they're actually capable of doing. Hard, it's mollycoddled. Mollycoddled, that's the way to say it. But that person is actually getting more for themselves, they think, than actually putting themselves and doing stuff. I remember, there was some really well-minded people who had a father who was slowly going into, I can't remember the problem, but he had this problem, health problem, but he wanted to get out. He could actually drive. He could still drive, but he had this issue, debilitating issue, but he could drive. And they said, oh, no, Dad, you can't drive. What we'll do is because he only used to drive to the grocery shop and get a few groceries. No, we'll get them delivered. Now, after a while, it got to the point where it is actually easier to get people to come round and sort out what I need. I don't have to think about it. And I see them all the time. I see them more if they're coming round to do this stuff for me. And also, you can't do the gardening, Dad. That might tire you out. Well, it actually, using muscles, wasn't going to tire him out. It was actually going to make him stronger. But that meant someone coming round. He could sit and watch and talk to the gardener. Didn't have to do anything. But slowly but surely, his health, physical, mental, was deteriorating because he wasn't stretching himself. But all done for the most wonderful positive intentions from his family. But he was getting that secondary gain. But they call it secondary gain, but really, there's a conflict there, isn't there? Because the gain is short term. Long term, it was debilitating. It was actually making things worse. And as much as you say to people, pull back, let people do it, very difficult. But that's secondary gain. So sometimes we have to think, what am I gaining out of this? It doesn't have to be that intense, but what am I gaining by not doing this particular thing? And is it really a gain? Look for the conflicts in each one of these, because you'll find them. Maybe we've got a couple of negative beliefs about ourselves, but they tend to latch into this thing by failure. I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to feel that sense of failure. But that's that conflict because we're going to feel it anyway. But maybe we've got negative beliefs about other people. Things like, well, they'll judge me. That they'll find out about me. They'll find out that I'm an imposter. The old imposter theory, or what do they call it? I'm not good enough to be here. The mere fact you've been doing this type of stuff for years, but you still have that thing. So we have these beliefs about, I'm an imposter. I shouldn't be here. There's the other thing is, am I entitled to be able to do this stuff because will it show me being better, more intelligent, more whatever label we put on it than my circle of friends? Well, actually, they'd probably support you doing it if you did it. But there's that conflict every time because you've got these negative beliefs that are trying in some way to protect you, but in fact they're causing a stronger conflict. So have a think. Maybe if I know we've got to think about this every day. We've got to make it a habit. We have to, I guess, decide, again, another choice, decide to just think, which one of those things was Cloughie talking about? And maybe there's another thing, that I'm not being the best version of myself, the best me in every moment. What events am I not doing that? And I wonder what the choices I'm making and what is the reason I'm giving myself. Is it because it's too easy not to? Or it's going to be hard to be myself? Because the thing is, being yourself is the most easiest thing to do, because you're the only person who knows how to do it. No one else can. So maybe just get our Jenny journal out and think about the times when you know you're not being that best version. Because the thing is, you can fool some of the people some of the time and all the people all of the time sometimes. But there's one person you cannot fool, and that's the one inside. I try it. We all try it. But in our heart, in our gut, in our mind, we know intuitively. We can feel it, can't we? We can feel there's something not quite right. But the thing is, what we can do, because as we do, I'm not going to leave you hanging, and I do feel I'm going to do more of this on this particular subject. And I'm also thinking, this is a brand new thought I'm having. I don't know whether you're going to think it's a good thing or not such a good thing. Maybe again you'll let me know. But I don't interview people, as you know. This is a solo event type thing. But I'm thinking of getting some people in just to give their ideas for maybe 5 or 10 minutes within one of these podcasts on the subject of the podcast. So you get an alternative view, or maybe it's the same view, just reinforced. I don't know. Be unedited, obviously. They say their things. But it might be interesting to get other views other than myself. I'm sure it would. Let's get a bit of a diversity going. Let me know about that one if you would. Same email address. I won't repeat it just yet. I'll repeat it at the end, obviously. But the thing is, you have to choose. We talked right at the very beginning. We choose and decide the next thing we're going to do. So maybe you have to choose not to accept this below par version of yourself. You can acknowledge that what you're doing, because that's why we reflect on this and we think about it, but you don't accept it. And you change your mind to say, do you know what? I am going to decide to do whatever it takes to be the best version of myself and reap the wonderful rewards for it. We come back to that old thing, to do whatever it takes. And there's only one person who can do that, and there's only one person in your mind who can choose to decide to do that. Because if you don't, you're never going to fulfill your potential. So when you decide to do whatever it takes to fulfill my potential and reap the rewards, you're going to feel great. You're going to feel absolutely awesome. And even if you get to a point where you have to do more, it doesn't matter, because if you know in your heart you did whatever it takes and you were the best version of yourself and you learn, which you will do, you're going to be an even better version of yourself the very next moment, because you're going to be able to use those learnings, because they're always going to be available to you. Because when you stretch and enforce your boundaries, and in NLP terms, enforcing your boundaries is pushing them bigger and wider and further. Imagine a circle and the circumference getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Because everything you do is a new experience, being the best version of yourself, learning from it and doing even more. But in order to do that, we have to do one thing. Because it came when I was talking earlier, is sometimes we're making choices, but we haven't set that direction, that aim in mind, that goal, that dream, that wish. So we have to continue to update our dreams, our wishes, our goals, our aims in mind, the direction we want to go. So we do that. How do we do that, Paul? Well, I always say, write in your Jenny journal. Reflect on your journal. Do journaling, because those dreams and wishes will come out, and any thoughts you have about them will come out eventually. They always do. Sometimes there's a bit of fluff that comes into your journaling, but they're there. Just use your Jenny journal to write these things down. Ask yourself those wonderful questions. And just ask yourself, what is the excuse I'm giving myself? Is it because it's easier not to? Is it because I'm worried about failure? Is it because I'm worried about not being safe when I'm vulnerable? Is it because there's more to gain by not doing it? Is it because I've got negative beliefs? Is it because I've got this negative feeling? They're all things you can work with, because once you understand that, you can work with it, not against it. Because when you push against your unconscious mind, you're going to lose. But when you work with your unconscious mind, say, okay, I've got this. How can we learn to do this? I've got this goal. This is how I'll feel. The other thing is, it's right, using your imagineering to imagine the goal, the end in mind, the last step to know when you've got that goal, how will it feel? And when you know it's going to feel absolutely awesome and feel so grateful for that feeling, you're telling your unconscious mind, this is the way to go. And when you write it down, you can always go back to it. Because I'm going to swear, there's a guy called Joe Rogan, and he has a great podcast. It's a mega long podcast, but it can be really interesting. But one of the things he said, and it just hit my mind in a tiny little word, he said, just write this shit down. And it's so right, write it down, because if you don't, it will disappear. And you'll go, oh, what was I thinking? Just write it down, even if it's just you have a random page in your journal. And then you can pick it out and start writing a bit more in detail. And these are all wonderful decisions you're making now. Your decision to acknowledge, your decision to work on the issues that you need to work on the goals, because maybe those goals aren't more as specific as you need. Maybe the steps are not quite there, so we're getting a little bit ambiguous, maybe then get confused. That's when that direction, that aim in mind, gets a little bit hazy, bit vague. So let's get a bit more specific. And when you get that end feeling, you're being really specific. And you've written it down, so you can go back to it. And then, especially with this particular one, with every goal that you have, and if you think about it, everything we do is a goal, because a goal is an aim in mind. So if it's to make a cup of tea, that's your goal. If it's to go to work in the day, well, the goal first, I guess, is getting up in the morning and then doing whatever you do, and then getting in the transport you need to do, or getting into the office, the other side of your bedroom if you work at home. But each little step is a goal, and it's knowing to decide, I'm going to do whatever it takes to be the best version of me doing that one particular thing. Live that dream, because those dreams, those directions, those aim in mind, those goals, those wishes are not journeys. It's not a start and an end. It's an adventure. So every step can be exciting, curious, comforting, calm, peaceful. Whatever you want it to be can be that when you know, and you then become the best version of yourself doing that. So you do it being the best version of yourself, being curious, being accurate, being peaceful, being excited, being enthusiastic, being confident, high self-esteem. You're being the best version of yourself, and it's all because you decided to do that. And the thing is, it's so easy to do. No, it isn't. It's not easy to do, but it's not terribly hard. It's not difficult. It just takes you a little bit of time, maybe just a couple of seconds, to think, what am I trying to do? And if I was prepared to do whatever it takes to be the best version of me doing this, how would that make me feel? Awesome. And that is what I'm saying. When you do this a few times, you're going to make this a habit. And when you create that habit, and you've chosen to make that habit, both consciously and unconsciously, it's going to be the most important habit that you do, because everything is going to come from this. Because everything you do will be coming through every heartbeat, every bit of passion you have in your body. And that's got to be awesome, isn't it? So there you go. A little bit of inspiration from a client that's been probably rattling around in my mind for some time, but he just brought it out in me. And that's what happens when we listen, I guess. And I had to make a note of it. If I didn't, it would have gone, but it was there all the time. And in fact, it started off as a note. I think I did this note about something similar to this about 6 months ago. And it was in my Jenny Journal, and it was it. Also, I use an app called Evernote to make notes. It's a free app. And then I was doing something else with this client, and all of a sudden I was looking to say, well, what can I talk about? What can I share? And all of a sudden the two just came together. Well, because that's what happens. And then I had to think of myself, well, I don't know how long it's going to be. What can we, is there going to be enough information? But I wonder if I could try to be the best version of myself, to share it. Be a little bit vulnerable, because it's like saying, oh yeah, this is all you do. It's so easy. Because it's not so bloody easy, but it's not difficult. The hardest thing to do is to decide that you're not going to accept this anymore. And what you're going to do is have the will to do whatever it takes and enjoy the rich reward for doing so. And I'm going to learn from it. And then you get those dreams. And then I can encourage you to make bigger dreams and to decide to really go for it. And just know that there's nothing to fear then. There is only those rich rewards of learning and experience, and your adventure gets richer, longer, more intense, and you can decide to have even more adventures. And those people who then, we said right at the beginning, we are colliding with other people's choices, where you get to attract people of similar intentions. And they're going to, instead of crashing, they're going to start supporting you, coming along with you. All because you decided to be the best version of yourself and reap the rewards. Awesome. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to ask you if you would. Obviously that feedback, the old email address is feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. So anything that you got from this podcast, any others as well, but this one particularly, I'd love your feedback. Could I improve upon it? Give me some critique. I can take honest, positive critique. Did it inspire you to do something? Did it not inspire you to do something? Is there something that I could say that would and look to find out and explore myself and then come back to make it even easier, more understandable? I don't know. Or did I get it right on the button? No, I don't think we'll ever do that, because there's always one more level to move, isn't there? I can always be a better version of myself. Always. Because it doesn't matter what you think you are, you're always more than that. But we're going to be more than that. We're talking about that potential. It's unlimited. So anyway, that's that. But also, if you would, share this, share the podcast, share anything you got with a friend, with an unfriend, and as many people as you could. Because if you do that, if you just share it with 2 people every time, and maybe ask them, when you ever listen to it, maybe have a listen to Cloughie and ask, maybe you share it around. That would be awesome, because we'll grow this community. We're going to grow it in a way that, like that, keep going back to that old butterfly over the other side of the world, whichever other side of the world it is, we will create a storm, a wonderful, enriching storm of change, positive change for you, for the people you love, the people you're yet to love, the people you don't know, and the whole world. Those ripples of change will go further and wider than we can ever imagine. So that's what this is all about. So if you could do that, that would be absolutely blooming awesome, and I would be so grateful. Up until now, up until then, I'm going to sign off, say thank you so much for being here, and I'll speak to you next time. Okay, see you real soon. Bye-bye now. Whoa. Just before you go, if you would, just bear with me for one moment. Well, about a minute, because I have a very important personal request from old Cloughie here to you. I'd like you to do one very big favour for me. In fact, it's only a little favour, but it'll have a huge effect, and certainly affect my gratitude immensely. Will you go to iTunes? And if you're not on iTunes, the player of your choice, but especially iTunes, go to iTunes and complete one of those reviews. The ones with the 5 stars and just a little bit of typing to show people and tell people exactly the thing that you love about this Personal Development Unplugged podcast. Because when you do, it does wonderful things, because it will help grow the audience. Okay, you can say, well, that's your ego, Paul. But it isn't. It is a little bit, because I love speaking to so many people. But it also means that you are sharing the word and making a difference to those people. So when they read them, they go, oh, I'll have a listen to this. And that makes this podcast a little bit more popular. And if they share it and pay it forward and do the exact same thing, we're going to get noticed as a big community of change makers. Because that's who you are. Changing yourselves and being the change you want to see in others. And all it takes is that one little 5-star review. Well, it could be 5-star, could be whatever star you think is most applicable to you. If you do that, I would be absolutely awesomely gratitudinal. If that's a word, gratitudinal. So, anyway, until the next time, and you'll probably hear this again, but please do. A little favour for Cloughie. I'd be most grateful. Until then, or till the next time. Bye-bye now.